Welcome everybody to our, what is the day? 22nd, July 22nd, Tribe Redefined and Friends team call. Want to keep it really high energy for the next couple weeks at least, because I know we all have so much that we can share from Summit. And I'm going to be doing a little bit of a training from Summit, not a recap of one of the trainings, but takeaways that I took from it as an English teacher. And then Teresa has some points to make from the leadership one, right? No, you don't have to. Is that what you're, no, never mind. That's cool. We're good. Teresa sent me like a text that was as long as can be. That's okay. We don't have to do that. I've got plenty. Don't worry, Teresa. You know that I can talk for like 100 minutes. And then some good action items that are going to relate to my part of the training. If you are just joining in, if you have any success club, you can pop them into the chat. That would be wonderful. Since we are mixed downlines here, it helps so that we can all get the recognition that we deserve in that respect. And I'll ask for a couple of things for you to pop in there throughout while I'm talking too, because I want to try to keep this interactive. So my absolute favorite takeaway from Summit was Jade Simmons, or favorite experience from Summit was Jade Simmons, which was this most unexpected, high intensity presentation that had nothing to do with coaching and everything to do with coaching simultaneously. I'm not sure if it's up in Coach Office yet, if they're going to put the main stage stuff in there. I think they will. But you could easily Google her or look up her up on Instagram if you weren't there, but I know most people on this call were. It's hard to describe who she is as an individual. She is a classical pianist who has created this image of herself that's completely authentic to her. It's not like a created image, but it's an image in terms of classical music because she went rogue in a sense. She created what she calls this Maverick identity by being her true self, and audiences showed up. Seats were filled. She received all these opportunities and all these accolades. And it's just such a cool experience to see her go through this. But what I wanted to share, and I'm going to very quickly just list for you her 5 Maverick moves, and I'll explain what those mean. If you want a deeper dive in them and you weren't at Summit, then we can do something at another time. I figure I'll do a live training in the team page for that. But I don't want to be disrespectful to anybody's time who was at Summit. But the real cool thing that she did was when she pulled 2 coaches up on stage and the magic that happened there. And there's no way I can capture how incredible this moment was, but I can, from an English perspective, explain to you why this was so effective and what this means for our storytelling and how we show up on social media. So she gave really cool, tangible takeaways on how to be you and how to coach. And I want to teach you why her takeaways were so effective. It's not what she said, but it's how she was able to create that identity and mentality for us. Okay, so first things first, explaining to you her Maverick identity. So this whole point is that you need to be you regardless of your position, regardless of the expectations placed on you, regardless of your fears and doubts and what other people are limiting you to be. She is an African-American woman who is a world-famous classical pianist. There is no reason she should be such when you look at history and you look at the type of stuffy, stiff, old white man crowd that is typically a part of. And she was able to break through what she calls her 5 Maverick moves, how to be who you are, how to choose who you are, and how to be that person every day. So her first Maverick move, and I said I'm just going to list these, is to move more like a Maverick. You must embrace endings. Get rid of what's holding you back and realize that what's coming next is what's more important. So to embrace endings, I know that struck a chord with a lot of us. And there's endings to a lot of things that we can consider. There's endings to bad habits. There's endings to, relationships in your life. There's endings to business opportunities. There's endings to whatever, anything good, anything bad has endings. And if we can embrace those and not be afraid of them and realize what comes next is just as important, if not more important, we can start to be our authentic self, not be afraid of what's going to end for us when we do this, but instead look forward to the doors that'll open. Maverick move number 2 is to re-understand, or I like to say redefine, obviously, your purpose. And she says the thing about purpose is that people often say that your purpose is what you do. Like, our purpose is to help change lives. Our purpose is to do coaching. Our purpose is to share health and wellness. But she says that your purpose is the impact you have on people when you do what you do. So it's not you coaching. It's not you running challenge groups. It's not you making money for your family. It's not you quitting your full-time job. It's what happens for other people because you're living as most authentically as you possibly can. And I thought that was a really cool thing. And when we can own that, we can understand that our purpose extends beyond us and what we are doing, and more the ripple effect that what we do has on others. It makes it so much more enticing and attractive to me to like keep reaching for that and to show up as myself in vulnerable sense. Move number 3 was to always be reinventing. She says, and I posted about this in my own social media a ton of times, but you belong here, but where is here? You take it with you. So always remember that where you are in any given moment is the seat you're supposed to be in. It's the crowd you're supposed to be a part of. It's the conversation you're supposed to be having. And when you move to the next one, continue to show up as yourself and continue to bring your purpose and your shine and your attitude with you, and everyone else will benefit from you. But she also says to remember to, she did this whole thing about becoming the remix. You can take the identity that everybody's so comfortable with, and you can spice it up and make it so much more entertaining for your own self. And then people will be in awe of what you're accomplishing. Move number 4 was to embrace resurrection. She says, if you are half of yourself, you're going to attract half of your audience. So if we are keeping our truth hidden, if we are keeping our identities sheltered, if we are keeping our vulnerabilities under the rug, then that's where half of the people that we could be reaching are going to stay. And so to keep that in mind, if you've embraced endings, you have to start again. You have to be reborn. You have to show up in a different way, in a different light. Just keep doing that as you, and the people will be there to embrace that for you. She says to shift impressing people on social media to impacting people, which I thought was a really cool thing. And then finally, move number 5 was to set arbitrary deadlines to evolve. She's like, these aren't the deadlines that your corporate upline sets for you. These aren't the deadlines that your, bills need to be paid by. These aren't the deadlines that whatever any other external factor would require of you, but these are the deadlines that you are going to work for. If you set an arbitrary deadline, you will do it. And one thing she said that I really loved is that you have within you everything you need to be successful at whatever you're going for. And if you don't, it will be put inside of you as you move closer to that goal. So don't be like, I could never be an elite coach because I don't have the time and I don't have the confidence. I don't have the this, I don't have the that. Start working towards it. And along the way, you will pick up those habits. You will pick up that confidence. You will pick up all that is required of you to get there. She truly said in her experiences, that's what's happened. Her own self has risen to the occasion she's set for herself with these arbitrary deadlines. So hold on to that. We're going to come back to that in our action item. But what I really wanted to talk to you about tonight is what she did when she brought these 2 coaches on stage. Okay, cool. Leslie, thanks. What she did was she had, asked everybody in the audience who, and this is 20,000 coaches that are at Summit, who plays piano? And like 12 people raised their hands from where I was sitting. Like no one raised their hand. And she picked on 2 random girls who were willing to, who were not ones raising their hand, and she brought them up on stage and sat them next to each other at this piano. And she told the one girl to hit these notes back and forth at like this certain tempo, right? So she starts doing that. And then she moves to the other girl, and she had her play these other notes at a different tempo. So now the 2 of them are doing that. They're both looking at her, looking at each other. She's like, yep, just keep doing that. And they did it. And she walked away. And as she walked away, they just kept playing and they're looking at each other. And she's like, yep, no, but you keep going. And she walked away. And she started saying to us as an audience, she's like, see, this is what a good coach does. A good coach gives their customers or their other coaches the tools and then walks away and lets them use it. And walks away and lets them fail, and walks away and let them feel their way through it, and walks away and lets them be the Maverick, and walks away and lets them own the spotlight and own the moment and own all of the hard and good that comes from that. And then at the right time, and as she's talking to us, she went over and she started playing the most ridiculous jazzy things in between them. She goes, and then at the right time, that leader goes in and makes it a little bit better and ups the game and keeps everybody going. And it was just, I mean, tears were streaming down my face. It was so cool. Every time she played the piano, I was crying. She was just so engaging. But it was such a cool moment. And there's this thing that we like to talk about in English class when we're talking about literature. And my mom knows that I love this, so she'll be like, you'd love this show because they show and don't tell. But that's what she was doing. She didn't just tell us about a way that we can coach our people. She didn't just tell us a few tips that can help us raise our game. She showed us in action, in the trenches, what scary looks like. She showed us what freedom looks like. She showed us what risk-taking looks like. She showed it to us completely. And we were so in because of everything she built up leading from that. I didn't even need her to narrate. She didn't even have to tell me when those girls were playing what was happening by her walking away and holding up her hands and giving it a few minutes and diving back in, because she had built trust for us. And you build trust and you build that momentum and you build that reaction from your audience in 3 ways. This is where, if you want to write anything down, you can. And it's through rhetoric, and these points are ethos, pathos, and logos. And every time we present ourselves on social media, when we're not doing just like a fun, like, at the beach, chilling, peace out, post, which we all do once in a while when we haven't been on social in a while and we just want to get our face out there, right? But when we are really trying to reach our people, coaching or otherwise, talking about nutrition or otherwise, talking about a hard moment with our kids, talking about a hard moment with our spouse, talking about a struggle we've overcome, a really freaking awesome book we just read, whatever it is we're talking about, we need to use these 3 points. The first one is ethos, and that is your credibility. It's the trust that you gain from your audience. The first thing Jade did when she walked out, she was wearing blue fringe, like the bright Beachbody blue fringe, mohawk, faux hawk hair, spiky glittery heels. She walks out and we're all like, golf claps, because it's 9:00 in the morning. We've all just worked out with Sean T and others and died. We're like, who is this woman? Why is she on our stage? And she's like, excuse me, I walk out in Beachbody blue fringe and you don't give me more of an applause than that? And from that minute, we were like, whoa, like there was just something about her confidence and about her aplomb that you just were like attracted to. She built ethos from that very moment. She looked the part. She acted the part. She was full on Maverick and full on Beachbody. And I think every girl who was in the audience could agree with me. She knew her audience better than any speaker, better than Rachel Hollis. And I love me some Rachel Hollis, but Rachel Hollis didn't know jack from the people sitting in front of her. She truly proved that. Jess and I were sitting in with this guy, James Clear, who wrote Atomic Habits, and I love his tips. I've been sharing them on social media, but he was talking about how it's such a myth that habits can be formed in 21 days. He definitely didn't know his audience. Like, talk about taking your ethos and whacking it in half. He knew he didn't know who he was speaking to. Jade knew. And at every turn, she developed that trust because we were in with her. We knew she did her homework. We knew she felt prepared. We knew this was mostly the speech she gives to everybody, but so many pieces were related to just us. It was like she was talking to me. I'm sitting next to Mike. I'm sitting with Leslie and Teresa, and I felt like she was talking to just me. And that's true ethos. The next thing that she did was pathos. And pathos is the emotional appeal. It's when we get people invested emotionally. And this doesn't always mean we move them to tears. When you can get someone to move to laughter, when you can get them to be like, oh, I did that too. When you can get someone to feel empathy or sympathy or fear or excitement, that is pathos. And that is when people are like in. And you need that ethos. You need to build your credibility before pathos will make sense. There's a reason that I was sobbing my eyes out when those 2 girls were playing the piano, because I felt so excited for them. Because in her speech leading up to it, Jade was talking about all the risks it took her to get here. And because of her risks and because of her hardships and because of her, you ain't gonna mess with me, Maverick attitude, these girls were given that same opportunity. And it was like, oh, it was like the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. And it was all because of her pathos. She engaged us, and she did both ethos and pathos simultaneously. But it's really the logos that existed in the show Don't Tell. Logos is evidence. It's the proof. It's the facts. It's the details. It's the things that can't be BS'd, right? I could go onto social media and I can say, I drink my hot Henny lemon water every night because now I don't snack. and I can move, and in 17 weeks, maybe post it again. There's no logos in that. There's no evidence. But if I show a picture of like the craisin bag that's still full by the end of the week, and I show my hot honey lemon water, and I show my before and after pictures, I'm developing that logos. I'm showing the evidence behind what I'm talking about. It's putting your money where your mouth is. And she did that by getting those girls up on stage and having proof right in front of us, not only of how freaking awesome she was and how she could do anything, like she could do anything and sell anything, I swear. But that it's that proof that you can do anything, that you can as a coach. Look what we're capable of as a coach. She coached those girls to play the piano in 3 seconds flat without doing much. She just gave them some tools and gave them some confidence and a stage to do it. I just thought she was so phenomenal. Like I don't even think I listened to most of the rest of the morning because she was so good, and everything she did and said and how she moved was so just engaging to me. And if you were to go on her social media, you could see, thank you, Adrian. I mean, she was so cool. She even said to me, she's like, said to me, I see, like we were having a conversation. She said to all of us, she's like, I saw you all outside of my hotel room working out this morning. That's right, we did the super workout. She's like, I would have been out there too, but I had to put my lashes on. And she gave us this whole example about how excited we should feel. It's when it's day 38 of 80-day obsession and autumn announces it's refeed day. Like she just knew everything. She made no mistakes. And from that, we had humor, we had the credibility of her as a speaker, and we had so much evidence sprinkled in. So think about that. If you're feeling like some of your social media posts are falling flat, or if you feel like you are not, or you feel like you're selling, right? If we feel like we're selling, or we feel like we're boring, or we feel like any of this, try to get the full gamut of rhetoric within your posts. Work on creating trust. Work on creating pathos, that connection with your audience, and work on the logos, having evidence within. Don't just tell, show. Create that actual evidence of what's happening. And if anything, Jade Simmons is a perfect example of this. And I just think it's really cool. So what I would like for each of us to do is to have an honesty moment here. First off, I have like a multifaceted action item. I'm going to quickly ask us to take out our Instagram if we can. Then Leslie can talk and I'll get to the actual like build your business action items. But I want you to look at a post recent in which you were talking about coaching in some capacity. Maybe you were discussing a new challenge group you have coming up. Maybe you were inviting to coaching. Maybe you were sharing about your 5 a.m. club, or you were sharing about your goals and how growth, like I just saw Jessica posted for her 5-year anniversary, happy anniversary to coaching. Anything that was coaching, business, fitness related, take a peek at it and be honest with yourself and see if there's a place where you could improve. Just take a peek. See if you are creating real authority with what you're talking about, that you are maverick enough as Teresa or as Adrian or as Stephanie or as Leanne to stand and be the boss of what you're about to say. See if there's a way that your audience can relate to you. And relate doesn't mean they have the same experience. And I'm going to keep talking, but that's something that we get into a little issue with. My students face this as well, or some of my coaches have said this to me. Well, I don't want to talk too specifically about my issues because it's not the same issue for everybody, or it's not the same problem, or I don't want to, cancel anybody out. You will not. They will see if you are creating pathos, if you're focusing on the emotional appeal, the emotion they can feel, your road to that struggle, your road to fear, your road to overcoming an addiction or a bad habit or whatever, that's what they're going to see. So maybe yours was you had a bad shopping habit and they, I don't know, weren't paying their bills. I'm thinking about the book that I was just listening to. There's two separate paths, but it's the same fear, it's the same limit, it's the same pathos. So don't worry about being too specific, because that's where the logos comes into play. They're not going to believe you if you're not specific, right? Like when you see those people who just started selling skincare, when suddenly they're like, look at my skin, it's glowing. And you're like, you just started selling that yesterday. So that's a filter, right? Like you have not proven anything to me yet. We've all seen that. We don't want to be those people. So just take a peek at your social media, find some posts and maybe make some notes with yourself of areas that you could be more vulnerable or you could develop more trust. And remember, and I liked Jess said on her post, I just read it before the call, and she said, I opened my doors to my fitness business 5 years ago. Our posts work together to create that ethos, pathos, and logos as well. So just keep that in mind. It's not like you have to like go into your backstory every single time. It also accumulates, but just keep in mind, we have to have those levels. We have to have those layers. So anyway, Leslie, sorry to be off the cuff here, but if you would like to unmute yourself, whatever you want to say. Sorry, I rambled as always.
This is actually completely appropriate for what you talked about. Like I actually took Pam's advice. She goes through all of the leadership trainings that we did, and she just jots down her notes, and then she goes back and leaves a blank page and kind of summarizes them all. And I did that on the plane on our way back for this one specific thing, and it relates perfectly to what you said. So it's about how to really tell your story in your posts. And I'm just going to do it briefly because we all have some business to do. The first thing is, for me, it's been really hard to share about coaching because I am not making millions of dollars right now. I am not, I'm not rolling in the dough. And I feel like that's a big thing for people to financially be successful. But I realize that what I have achieved is emotional freedom, not financial freedom yet, but I've achieved emotional freedom. So the way that I came to that realization, the questions that they said was, what have I been able to accomplish? Like your post should kind of start with that. What have I been able to accomplish? And for me, I wrote emotional outlet, joy in helping people, sanity during stay-at-home mom life, and then where am I going? Like, where do I want to go? I want financial freedom. I want more time with my family and vacations. And like, then there's that obstacle that you come across. Like, if I don't give this my all, what is that going to mean? Like, that's going to mean that I might not be helping a mom that is struggling through her crazy ass day. Like I am. Like, I'm not helping somebody if I'm not sharing about what I'm doing. And what have I overcome? I've overcome grief. I've overcome negativity. Like you make your own list of what are the things that you've overcome. And then you kind of wrap that into your post. And I forget who said it in a different seminar, but it was like, you spin it to win it.
Ashley.
Yeah. So you write the struggle that you had and go through those different points that I just said. And then at the end, you want to make it something positive. You don't want it to be like, well, I didn't do anything with that. Like you want it to be something that people are like, oh, all right, well, that is something I could work on, or that's something that I could achieve. So I just thought that was a great way for me to look at my posts and really bring it.
I love it. I love it. Remember a couple of months ago or weeks ago, I've lost track of time, and we did the short story prompts for our posts. Every short story exists. And I'm sorry, English teacher runs the calls mostly. So, this is what you get. But every short story exists because there's a conflict resolution, and that's the spin it to win it. If it's all conflict all day, no one's going to be understanding you, or they're going to come to you for more issues. They're not the people who want to be helped. But if you're constantly spinning it to win it, and spinning it to win it doesn't mean you've succeeded, but you've tried, you've made gains, you've sought a resolution. That's just as important and just as relatable as the resolution itself. So I love that, Leslie. Perfect. Anything else? No, perfect. All right, cool beans. All right, so I have 2 action items. One, I want you to put into the chat, and one we're going to do either on Instagram, Facebook, text, it doesn't matter. What I would like you to do first is to think of some kind of goal and set an arbitrary deadline. It could be a rank advancement. It could be a Success Club achievement, like you want to hit Success Club 5 every month the rest of the year. You want to grow your social media following by X number of people by this date. You want to do X number of lives by this date. You want to overflow your challenge group or use your 3 promo codes by this date. Whatever. There is no judgment. No goal is too big. No goal is too small. One thing we said on our accountability call this week that I just loved, and I think it was, who did I say said it? Lindsay Matway, that you know, if you're leading a team, you want to make sure your goal is big enough that all the goals of your team can fit within them. So think about that as well. Because I know we've got leaders on this call that we need to up our game. And I think all of you are leaders. Imagine you've got these big ass teams. So make your goal, you know, as big as you can dream it. So set that right now. I'm not going to give you the next action item until everyone starts putting things in here. Don't overthink it. No one's going to hold you to this. When I post the recording, the chat doesn't show up. So, you know, it's just arbitrary. Yes, girl. Is that what I have you? I have a diamond goal for you too on my board. I can't remember what I set for you, Jackie. Just arbitrary. Arbitrary. Now I'm looking.
I did try to Zoom. I couldn't see. Just saying.
Oh, I don't have a date for you. I was kind. I only put dates for the people I control. I love it. I have, all right, I'll say 4-star to close the year. That's what I'm going to say. I love it, Adrian. That's perfect. Get primo seating if you get Success Club All-Star Legend. I love it. These are good. All right, let's see. I'm going to read them, the ones that I see so far. All right, 1-star by end of the year for Teresa. Love it. You can do it. 4-star for me by the end of the year. Success Club 5 for the rest of the year. Adrian, 4-star by Christmas. Leslie, then I better get moving. 2-time elite and 7-star diamond by the end of the year. Jess, 2-star by October and 1-star by September. Brittany, I'm reading these backwards, so these aren't making sense. Diamond by November for Jackie. I love it. All right, cool beans, cool beans, cool beans. All right, and the final one is not necessarily a grow your network. It's just a fuel. Ooh, 1-star by the end of the year, Success Club every month for Mindy. I love it. You guys can keep them coming in. I'm just going to give the final actions, and you can, good, it's 9:31. This is perfect. You can bow out when you're ready. I want you to reach out to 5 people who you feel are authentically them. 5 people that are mavericks in your life. And perhaps these are the people who like you would love to be on your team. Perhaps these are just women you admire. Perhaps it's your next door neighbor who's 90 and could never be in a challenge group. I don't want you to think about filling spots or filling coaches, even though we just set those arbitrary deadlines. I want you to feel about your impact. Remember, your purpose is the impact you leave on others when you do what you do. And part of what we do is love people. Part of what we do is be the mirrors to others so they can see their best self. So just be a mirror right now. Reach out to 5 mavericks. Tell them that you heard about this girl, Jade Simmons, who talks about being authentically them, and that this person that you're reaching out to is exactly that. Give them a reason or two why. You could do it over a voice chat. You could do it over Instagram. You can do it over Facebook, phone calls if it's the 90s. Whatever you want, however you want to do things. But reach out to 5 people, and please do not limit yourself to thinking, well, this person could never be in my challenge group. We don't care. The universe will give us what we give to it. So let's spread some love. Let's love on some mavericks, and good things will come from that. All right. Make sure you use your promo codes by the end of July. Make sure if you have a secondary CBC, if you have a coach account for a spouse or a parent that they don't control but you do, if they're active, you get promo codes for that as well. So you could have 3, 6, 9, who knows, in your possession. So do your best to reach out and use those. Make sure that people know they have to enter them when they're purchasing. I've had 2 people not do that. Whatever. So now I still have promo codes, but anyway, just keep that in mind. So much is happening with Morning Meltdown. I feel like people are loving this. I personally am finding a lot of inactive coaches are intrigued by this and coming back into active status. So for those of us reaching out to those goals, don't forget to reach out to your people who may seem like they are long gone. You'd be surprised at who might be intrigued by this. Do your Maverick messages, and thanks for being on. I'm going to stop the recording.